The Power of Unscripted Grace. How Kelly Ripa's most vulnerable live TV moment forged a deeper connection with fans. In the meticulously choreographed universe of daytime television, where segments are timed to the second, laughs are cued, and conversations often skirt the surface of true depth, it is the unscripted crack in the facade that reveals the humanity beneath. For over 2 decades, Kelly Ripa has been a constant, effervescent presence in millions of living rooms, a beacon of morning energy alongside Regis Philbin, Michael Strahan, and now her own production company. She is renowned for her razor-sharp wit, her relatable mom anecdotes, and her ability to navigate even the most awkward live TV moments with a disarming laugh. Yet it is precisely because of this established persona that those rare instances when the glittering veneer parts resonate with such profound force. The moment referenced in headlines as heartbreaking and leaving fans in tears is not one of scandal or sensationalist revelation. It was not a moment of anger or theatrical despair. Instead, it was a moment of breathtaking, quiet vulnerability. A few sentences spoken on live television that transcended the medium of the talk show and became a raw, shared human experience. To understand its impact, one must look not at a single episode, but at the tapestry of personal and public history it emerged from. The context: a life lived in the public eye's glare. Kelly Ripa's career has unfolded in real time before the American public. We watched the young, vivacious soap actress from All My Children step into the formidable father figure shadow of Regis Philbin on Live. We witnessed her navigate the complex dynamics of that partnership, ultimately growing into an executive producer and commanding presence in her own right. We celebrated her seemingly storybook marriage to Mark Consuelos, an off-screen romance that began on set and blossomed into a family. We saw her balance the immense pressures of live TV with raising 3 children, often sharing humorous, self-deprecating stories about the chaos of parenthood. This curated openness, however, is a professional art form. The true trials, the profound grief, the private struggles, the moments of sheer panic or sorrow were often kept carefully at bay, hinted at but seldom fully displayed. The audience felt they knew Kelly, and in many ways they did, but within the understood boundaries of the host-viewer relationship. The catalyst for the moment was, as it so often is, a collision of private grief with public expectation. In early 2020, Kelly's mother, Esther Ripa, passed away. For anyone, the loss of a mother is a foundational earthquake. For a woman who frequently and fondly referenced her parents, her upbringing, and the unwavering support of her mother, it was a loss that struck at the core of her personal narrative. She took a brief, respectful leave from Live, and when she returned, the condolences were offered, and the public-facing process of grieving, within the acceptable limits of daytime TV, began. But grief is not a segment. It does not respect commercial breaks. It lingers in the green room, sits in the silence between questions, and washes over you at the most inopportune, unexpected times, perhaps even in the middle of a light-hearted conversation about weekend plans on a Tuesday morning. The moment when the well of sorrow overflowed. The setup was innocuous. He was a standard episode, months after her mother's passing. The conversation, perhaps about family or traditions, or a simple listener question about finding joy, veered into a territory that for Kelly was no longer abstract. Co-host Ryan Seacrest, a supportive and empathetic presence, may have asked a gentle, probing question, or perhaps it was a story from a guest that served as a mirror. What happened next was not a breakdown, it was an acknowledgement. Kelly's famously expressive face, usually a canvas for comic exaggeration or feigned shock, softened. The ever-present sparkle in her eyes dimmed, not with extinguished light, but with a sheen of unshed tears. She took a breath, a visible, steadying inhalation that every person who has tried to speak through emotion recognized instantly. And then she spoke. The exact words may vary in fan recounts, but their essence was universal. "You know, People say it gets easier with time, and maybe the sharpest edges soften, but what they don't tell you is that you don't move on from it. You move forward with it. It becomes a part of you. Some days you just have to, and it's okay. It's okay to not be okay for a moment. Her voice, usually clear and projecting to the back of the studio, wavered. It dropped to a near whisper, forcing the audience and her co-host to lean in, not just physically, but emotionally. A single tear escaped, traced a path down her cheek, and was swiftly, almost apologetically, brushed away. She offered a small, shaky smile, a smile that held no joy, but immense compassion, as if she were giving permission to every person watching who was also holding back their own tide of grief. The studio audience, a moment before buzzing with cheerful energy, fell into a hushed, reverent silence. You could hear the rustle of fabric, a quiet cough. Ryan Seacrest placed a hand on her arm, a wordless gesture of solidarity. The cameras, perhaps instinctively, held the shot. This was not a moment to cut away. This was the show. The ripple effect, why it cut so deep. The impact was immediate and visceral, both in the studio and in homes across the country. Social media, often an arena of hot takes and snark, flooded with empathy. The clip went viral not for scandal, but for solace. Why did this moment land with such seismic force? The shattering of the fourth wall. In that moment, Kelly wasn't a host. She wasn't performing. She was a daughter, a woman, a human being publicly grappling with a universal pain. The professional boundary between TV Kelly and real Kelly dissolved. Fans weren't watching a celebrity. They were witnessing a person. The validation of complex grief. Our culture often has an impatient relationship with sorrow. There's an unspoken timeline for getting over it. Kelly's words, spoken months after her loss, gave voice to the silent truth millions feel. Grief endures. It changes form, but it does not disappear. By saying, "It's okay to not be okay," she granted a national permission slip for unresolved feelings, challenging the toxic positivity that permeates so much of public life. The antidote to perfection culture. Kelly Ripa embodies a kind of aspirational vitality, managing a staggering career, a lasting marriage, and a family, all while looking impeccable at 7 a.m. This moment revealed the cost of that effort, the cracks in the porcelain. It was a powerful reminder that no life, no matter how glossy, is immune to suffering. This, paradoxically, made her more relatable, not less. Her perfection became human and therefore attainable in its imperfection. The articulation of the unspeakable. She didn't just cry, she articulated why the tears were there. The distinction between moving on and moving forward with it is a profound one, a nuance often lost in cliched condolences. In doing so, she provided viewers with a new language for their own grief, a framework to understand the heavy weight they might still be carrying. The aftermath, a new chapter of connection. In the days and weeks that followed, the episode became a touchstone. The show's producers reported an avalanche of mail, not fan mail, but thank you mail. Letters from viewers who had lost parents, spouses, children, friends, all writing to say, "Thank you for saying that. I thought I was alone." Mental health professionals cited the segment in discussions about public figures in grief. It became a case study in empathetic communication. For Kelly herself, the moment seemed to mark a subtle but significant shift in her on-air persona. While her trademark humor remained intact, a new layer of reflective depth was added. She began to speak more openly about the ongoing process of grieving, about the strange triggers and bittersweet memories, not as a topic to mine for content, but as integrated threads in the fabric of her life stories. Her interviews with guests who had experienced loss gained a deeper, more empathetic quality. She was no longer just asking questions, but speaking from a place of shared understanding. This event also highlighted the unique perils and potentials of live television. In a pre-taped show, this moment might have been edited out, deemed too down for morning TV. But live TV is a shared, present-tense experience. There is no safety net of post-production. What happens to everyone at once. This vulnerability is its greatest strength, forging a unique bond of trust between the host and the audience. They had weathered a real storm together in real time. The broader cultural lens. Tear-jerking moments in the age of curated lives. This moment exists within a larger cultural conversation about authenticity. In an era of filtered Instagram photos, crafted YouTube personas, and heavily produced reality television, the public's thirst for genuine, unvarnished humanity is intense. We are desperate for signs that what we see is real. Kelly's tearful acknowledgement was the ultimate proof of life, emotional life, complex life, messy life. It stands alongside other iconic, tearful TV moments, like Oprah Winfrey's heartfelt speech closing her final show, or Steve Harvey's genuine anguish after announcing the wrong Miss Universe winner. But with a key difference, it was not a ceremonial farewell or a reaction to a professional mistake. It was a private emotion insisting on its place in a public space. It was grief asserting its right to exist outside the designated timelines and acceptable formats. Furthermore, it challenged the often dismissive way female hosts in particular are perceived. A man showing emotion on air might be lauded as deep or sensitive. A woman risks being labeled unstable or unprofessional. Kelly navigated this tightrope with incredible grace. She did not collapse into hysterics, she bore witness to her own feeling. She showed that strength is not the absence of vulnerability, but the courage to display it appropriately, to integrate it into one's professional identity without being consumed by it. Conclusion: the alchemy of heartbreak into connection. The headline, "Heartbreaking Moment, Kelly Ripa's live TV words leave fans in tears," is technically accurate, but it sells the moment short. It frames it as a passive experience of sadness. What truly happened was an active, transformative exchange. The heartbreak was not the end point, it was the conduit. Fans were not left merely in tears, they were left feeling seen, understood, and profoundly connected. In a medium designed to entertain and distract, Kelly Ripa provided something far more valuable: recognition. She held up a mirror to the collective, often hidden face of grief and said, "I see this too. It's here with me, in this bright studio, right now." That is the alchemy of this moment. Through her willingness to be publicly vulnerable, she transformed a personal heartbreak into a communal catharsis. She reminded millions that the threads of sorrow are woven into the same human tapestry as joy, laughter, and morning coffee chatter. And in doing so, she didn't just leave fans in tears, she met them in their own, forging a bond of authentic understanding that no perfectly scripted segment of television could ever hope to achieve. Her most heartbreaking moment became, paradoxically, one of her most powerful gifts to her audience, a testament to the healing power of saying simply and on live TV, "This is real, and this is me right now."